Did Canada just elect a global banker to quietly outmaneuver the world's biggest economies? Well, Mark Carney isn't your typical prime minister. He ran two of the most powerful central banks on earth, and now, just weeks into office, he's taking bold steps that could change how global trade, defense, and diplomacy work. From challenging Trump's tariffs to building unexpected alliances, Carney isn't just leading Canada. He might be reshaping the entire global balance of power. But is this all part of a bigger plan, or just smart politics? Keep watching to find out what's really going on behind Carney's quiet power move. Okay, wait, Mark Carney, the former Bank of England boss, that guy just became Canada's prime minister? Yep, and the way it happened, wild. Barely 2 months before the election, the Liberals looked finished. Polls had them trailing the Conservatives by 25 points. People were already planning the Tory victory party, but then, boom, three things flipped the game on its head. Trudeau stepped down, Trump got re-elected and instantly started throwing shots at Canada. And right in the middle of that chaos, Carney entered the ring. No campaign history, no flashy slogans, just calm, straight-talking confidence. And somehow, that worked. He called a snap election for April 28th. Bold move, right? People thought he was setting himself up to fail. Instead, he pulled off a comeback nobody predicted. The Liberals landed 169 seats, just 3 short of a majority. And for the first time in 2 elections, they even won the popular vote. And get this, Carney won the Liberal leadership with 86% of the vote. That's not a win, that's a takeover. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre lost his own seat. So did Jagmeet Singh. One steps down, the other basically disappeared. So, how did a former central banker who's never even run for office outmaneuver 2 seasoned politicians and flip the election script? And here's the real question. Was this just smart timing? Or is Carney playing a much longer game? You see, Trump's second term had barely begun when he cranked up the pressure on Canada. Again, tariff threats, trade disruption, and yep, even that wild comment about making Canada the 51st US state. It sounded ridiculous, but it hit a nerve. This wasn't just noise, it was a warning shot, and Canadians knew it. Carney, though, he didn't flinch. This is the guy who steered Canada through the 2008 financial crash, then got tapped to lead the Bank of England during Brexit, one of the wildest economic moments in UK history. So yeah, when the heat's on, Carney doesn't flinch. Before even stepping into office, he fired back. Canada will never ever be part of America. Not in any way. That statement alone made headlines worldwide and instantly changed the tone of the US-Canada relationship. But it didn't stop there. Carney took it a step further. He told Trump and the world that Canada's retaliatory tariffs were staying locked in until the US came forward with a serious fair trade proposal. We cannot and will not let him succeed, Carney said. And just like that, Canada had a new kind of leader, one who wasn't afraid to fight back. So now we know this much. Carney's not just about economic stability, he's about economic sovereignty. But here's the real twist. Was this pushback purely about protecting trade? Or is Carney quietly setting up a bigger shift in how Canada, and maybe even other nations, respond to US dominance? That's the part we're about to uncover. Now we know this much. Carney wasn't bluffing. After his cabinet met to discuss Trump's tariff threats, Carney stepped outside and dropped a bombshell. He said Canada was entering a fundamentally different relationship with the US, and not just different over, as in the old play nice, play fair Canada-US dynamic, done. His exact words, Canada must now dramatically reduce its dependence on the US. That was Thursday. By Friday, Trump, yes, that Trump did something nobody saw coming. He backed off. Gone was the trolling, the Canada's governor bit, the 51st state nonsense. Instead, he posted on Truth Social like a guy who just got humbled. Just finished speaking with Prime Minister Mark Carney. Extremely productive call. We agree on many things, and great things coming for both countries. Wait, what? That's not the Trump we've seen with Canada before. So what changed? Was it Carney's tough stance? The refusal to flinch? The sudden end of business as usual? Maybe. But before we get into that, if you're enjoying the video so far, please hit that like button and subscribe. Now moving on. Interestingly, Carney's first trip as prime minister wasn't to Washington or Beijing. It was to France, then the UK. That wasn't symbolic, it was strategic. He met Macron first, saying Canada needed to strengthen ties with reliable allies, not just for trade, but to face the escalating pressure from Trump. It gets even clearer when you hear his words standing beside Macron. Canada is the most European of non-European countries. That's not just cultural pride, that's a positioning move. He's signaling that if the US keeps turning up the heat, Canada is ready to shift its economic center of gravity eastward. So now we know this much, Carney isn't just playing defense, he's building a new support system. But here's the twist. Macron didn't bite, at least not publicly. No joint Q&A, no strong anti-Trump stance, just polite smiles and vague support. Was it caution or hesitation? And now, will Europe actually back Carney's pivot, or will he be left standing alone with an outstretched hand? Well, we've seen how Carney stared down Trump's tariff threats, and how he started looking to Europe for allies. But the clearest signal yet of what he's really after? That came during the meeting, May 6th, the White House. All eyes were on Washington. People wanted to see, would Trump make another jab about Canada being the 51st state? Would he offer any real relief on tariffs? Was there respect or rivalry between these two? Trump opened with praise. One of the greatest comebacks in political history, he said, even comparing Carney's win to his own. High praise from someone who rarely shares the spotlight. But here's the moment that mattered most. Carney looked him in the eye and said, "I've been elected to transform Canada. Not manage, not maintain, transformation." That was the moment everything clicked. This isn't about playing defense anymore. Carney's not just trying to preserve the status quo. He's aiming to redesign Canada's role in the global economy. That single word, transform, wasn't a soundbite. It was a mission statement. And suddenly, the real question wasn't, can he stand up to Trump? It became, what exactly is Carney trying to turn Canada into? Because here's the wild part. Carney is not like the leaders Canada's used to. He's not a career politician. He's a Harvard, Oxford, Goldman, Bank of England product. He was running global finance when most MPs were still learning how a committee meeting works. Well, now we're getting closer to an answer. Carney's not just posturing on the world stage. Behind the speeches and handshakes, his government has one massive job ahead, redesigning Canada's trade future from the ground up. That starts with the elephant in the room, Trump's tariff threats. They haven't been triggered yet, but the pressure is real. Carney knows negotiations with the US won't be smooth, especially with Trump calling the shots again. So his strategy? Prepare. Meticulously, ruthlessly. The one thing going for Canada? Kuzma, the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. Trump hasn't pulled out of it yet, and as long as products meet North American origin standards, zero tariffs still apply. That's the foothold Carney plans to use. A starting point, a crack in the wall, but he's not stopping there. Carney wants to build Canada's economic independence, something no recent leader has pulled off. His team is looking beyond the US, deepening ties with the European Union, the UK, Africa, ASEAN, and even parts of the Middle East and Latin America. If Canada can loosen its dependency on a single trade partner, even the world's biggest one, it becomes harder to bully, easier to negotiate with, and far more resilient. So yes, that's one way he's reshaping the game. Not by blowing up global trade deals, but by quietly creating options, new lanes, new allies, and a new posture that doesn't revolve around Washington. But here's the thing, can he actually pull Canada away from the gravitational pull of the US? That's the next test, because talk is easy. Trade rewiring, that's real work. And every global player watching this knows that how Carney handles this next phase could set a precedent for other middle powers too. So, the big question now becomes, is Carney just transforming Canada, or setting the blueprint for a new global economic order? So far, we've seen Carney stand up to Trump, strengthen alliances, and lay the groundwork for a more independent Canada. But this next move? No one saw it coming. Missile defense in space with Trump. On Wednesday, Carney confirmed it himself. Canada is in active talks with the US to join Trump's Golden Dome missile defense program, a $175 billion space weaponized shield that aims to intercept missiles at every stage of flight, even before they launch. Think satellites, sensors, space space-based firepower. Yes, really. Trump says it'll be fully operational by 2029, and apparently Carney's not just okay with that, he wants in. Is it a good idea for Canada? Yes, he told reporters. It's good to have protections in place for Canadians. Now we know. Carney's not just thinking about trade and economic autonomy, he's thinking about defense. Long-term, high-stakes, sky-above-your-head defense. So is this the price of staying close to the US? Or is it a power play to gain leverage inside Trump's orbit without becoming dependent? Trump says Carney's government reached out first. That Canada wants in, that they'll pay their fair share, and Carney's confirming it. They're negotiating at the table right now. Mark Carney warned that Canada may soon face missile threats originating from space as global security risks evolve. Despite Canada's close cooperation with the US through NORAD, Carney has signaled a new philosophy going forward. We cooperate if necessary, but not necessarily cooperate. So if Carney's already shifting trade, diplomacy, and defense in just his first few weeks, what will Canada and the global economy look like by the end of his term? Quiet moves like these don't stay quiet for long. The question now is, are we watching the rise of a new kind of world leader or the start of something even bigger? Let us know what you think in the comments. In the meantime, have a look at this video on your screen. You will love it.